Okay, so there is, you've heard me mention this guy's name before if you've been around for a while. Some of you know of him or heard of him or read his material, and the man's name is John Maxwell. So John Maxwell has a lot of books, Laws of Leadership, Laws of Success, all these other different things. He's a business coach. He's a lot of different stuff, motivational speaker. He happens to be one of my favorite people to love, John Maxwell. So he's got a lot of books on, like I said, the laws of leadership, laws of success. One of the things that he talks about is the irrefutable laws of success. In any business, whether you're in sales like real estate or mortgages, or you're an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, or anything along those lines, in any business, there are 11 different irrefutable laws of success. And what that means is that this is it. If you follow these 11 laws, you will experience growth in your business. And so I want to go over those today and kind of relate some of them to real estate because that's our business. Now, you may have read this book or you may have heard some of these things before, but always good to repeat them, always good to go through them again. Or maybe, this is the first time you've heard it and it's like, wow, this is going to be some interesting stuff. There's obviously going to be some of these things you've heard before in some capacity. If it wasn't directly from John Maxwell, you might have heard something similar from Neil or Mike or anyone else that you follow because we read, we go to seminars, things like that. But I just found this really, really interesting. And I thought there's a lot of good points in here that can help us moving forward. So I want to dive into these and see if we can encounter one or two really good ideas to help us move forward a little bit. If you have questions as I'm going through this, unmute yourself or just put it in the chat box. I'll keep taking a look at those, but let's dive right into this. So again, the 11 irrefutable laws of success. So number one is called the law of the lid. The law of the lid, L-I-D, the law of the lid.
Is it just me or did we lose him?
Robert's pretty good at standing still.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're back.
Here?
We lost you for a couple of minutes.
Oh, that's too bad. I just gave the most important point of the day.
We lost you for about 45 seconds.
All right, let's start over. Your ability to grow your real estate business will not exceed the level of competency you have as a real estate agent. In other words, your amount of competency will act like a lid to the level of success you will achieve in the business. So, a couple of notes I wrote down here. If you want to take your real estate business to the next level, make sure you're developing into the real estate professional who operates at that desired level. Ask yourself, what skills do you need to thrive at that next level? Start taking action on attaining those skills. So, well, I want to take my business to the next level, and part of that's going to be contacting for sale by owners. Okay, well then what skills do you need to do to contact for sale by owners? I need to take my business to the next level, which means I need to get away from just database, past client centered of influence. Okay, then what skills do you to thrive outside a database? You need to know, as far as phone prospecting, for example, well, you need to know where to get the phone numbers. You need to know to get the dialer or your hand dialing. You need to know the scripts. You need to know the market stats. You need to know objection handlers, or whether that's on the doors or on the phones. You need to know what the markets are like in terms of turnover rate, because prospecting certain areas that a turnover rate is once every 27, 28 years is not very profitable. So there's certain skills. Well, I want to take my business to the next level. I want to get to a higher price point. Okay, well then what do you need to do to break into the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million price points? Well, you need to be able to go preview property because you need to know what a $2 million, $3 million home goes for and looks like. You need to be able to know that you're an expert in that area because most people that sell a $2 or $3 million home want to feel like they know they're working with someone who knows how to deal with $2 or $3 million homes. So if you can't put a lid on your competency if you want to get to successful to that next level. You've got to break through that. Be the person that you want to be. Learn the successful skills of the person who's already at that level. What do they do differently than you? Now, some of it may be, I put down here, in terms of competency, is that you might have to get rid of things to get to a higher level. There's the old phrase, sometimes to take one step forward, you have to take 2 steps back first. So sometimes our lid is that we have too much stuff. We're saying yes to too many things. I want you to write this down. This is something from Derek Sivers, who's a venture capitalist. He's invested in god-awful amounts of businesses. He's made a great deal amount of. He says, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. Meaning that somebody asks you to do something, you either say, hell yeah, I'll do it, or it's no. It's never a, all right, sure. Because then you say yes to too many things, and that's your lid, is you have too many things you're working on, so you can't break through to the things that really get you to that next level. It's either a hell yes or a no. So you have to figure out what it is that you either need or get rid of to reach that next level, break through that lid. All right, number 2, the law of process. This one's pretty simple, okay? The law of process says your business grows through consistent activities, not with one-time events. The law of process says your business grows through consistent activities, not with one-time events. So we've all heard the saying, trust the process. If you're a Philadelphia 76er basketball fan, you've heard that comment a lot, but that's a different story. But what does that truly mean, trust the process, right? It means that if you have a process that leads to results, then the outcome is inevitable if you will consist. Which kind of in line with what Mike Ferry always says, right? A duplicatable, predictable business. If you have a process that leads to results, then you know that in order to get more results, you just follow the correct processes. So, give you an example. If you know that 50 real estate related conversations lead to a transaction and you want 50 transactions, then you need to have 250 real estate related conversations. If you plan to work 50 weeks, then you simply need to make sure that you have at least 50 conversations each of the 50 weeks for you to achieve your goal. Simply the process. So here's what happens a lot. Neil's talked about this for years. Is he'll say, hey, go do X, come back to me with the results. Oh, Neil, I did what you said and I got a listing. Great. And then all of a sudden they stop doing particular activity. Been doing it for years. Here's a true story. Some of you might remember this. In our now old Walnut office, because we've now officially moved to Diamond Bar, we were at the office one day. It was a nice sunny day. You know, one of those weird Southern California days where it's nice and sunny. And there's a few agents in the office and they're prospecting on the phones and whatnot. And Neil says, I got an idea. Why don't the 3 of you split up and just go door knock all the houses around the office? Because no one ever does that. Just do me a favor, go do it. So they go do it. One of the agents comes back, hey, I got a listing appointment. They go, they take the listing. sold the listing, and then helped them buy the replacement property. So they got 2 deals out of the transaction, right? By simply just going and door knocking around the offices. So then, a month or so down the road, Neil follows up with his agent and say, hey, have you been out door knocking again since you got that listing? What do you think that agent's response was? No. No. So imagine Neil's frustration of, I gave you an idea, it worked, and then you didn't do it again. So it essentially was a one-time event. It's about consistent activities. Find out what works and do it consistently. Another example I wrote down is farming. One of the reasons that Mike doesn't talk about farming is because most agents' idea of farming is the most ridiculous, stupid idea ever. Well, what do you mean, Robert? Well, this is how they farm. Well, I'm going to get 1,000 homes and I'm going to mail them a postcard once a month. And I'm just going to do that every month. Okay, good idea. That seems very profitable. No, if you want to do farming, it's about consistent activities. Ask Jennifer Matsumoto in our office about farming Tustin Meadows. Small little community in Tustin. They get a mailer once a month. She door knocks them once a month, separate time, okay? She calls them once a month as well. They're getting 3 to 4 contacts from her every month. And then they see her signs, and then they see all this, and she's a part of the community. She does all these other things. She's involved in these people's lives. In the first couple of years, she didn't make hardly any money off of it. She actually probably, from a profit and loss standpoint, lost a little bit of money the first couple of years. Fast forward 7 years later, she's already closed 7. She's probably going to close 8 deals in that community just this year. It's going to make her $160,000 just this year. She's been doing it the last couple of years through consistent activities, not I did a postcard once. Consistent activities, all right? I wrote down here, Neil Schwartz 101, baby steps daily, not giant steps occasionally. It's a process. Don't do it once, and then if you fail, well, that's it, it's over. It's a process. All right, number 3, the law of adding value. The law of adding value. Okay, pretty simple. This is another simple one. You'll notice this with John Maxwell. Okay, he makes things very simple. The law of adding value says the more value you add, the more business will grow. He's a pretty simple guy, right? The more value you add, the more your business will grow. So here's a question to ask yourself as a real estate agent. How much value do you provide to your past clients? How much value do you provide to the neighborhoods that you do farm? How much value and insight on current market conditions do you provide the clients you're actively working with right now? See, just calling people of your past clients and asking them if they have a referral or if they know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, or if they've thought about buying or selling, that's no value in that. How much, to the neighborhood you farm. Hey, here's the homes that have sold. Okay. That's not providing a great amount of value. What's going on in the neighborhood? What are the trends? Okay. You have a buyer and seller. We just talked about this with this question earlier. Sometimes with these buyers and sellers, all we just keep saying is the market's hot. You should sell. The market's hot. Oh, the market's starting to flatten out. Like, more insight, more value. What's going on? And be specific. Don't use national stats. I wouldn't even use MLS stats. Use city stats if you can. If your city, if the people are too diverse and you want to keep things simple, use county stats. Because that's value. Because realistically, when somebody lives in, I don't know, Whittier, and you say, hey, here's what's going on in Southern California, their mind goes, well, yeah, but I mean, look at, those are homes that include Beverly Hills and Newport Beach. Or if it's worse, they'll think, well, yeah, but I'm in Whittier. Those are homes out in, Barstow and all these other areas. Yeah, of course, it's, the average price is a little bit lower. They don't see the value. Be more specific. Okay. He went on to say, John Maxwell says, if you're wondering how to grow your business, simply add more value in your marketplace. So a couple ideas is that you can record video content about your local area or the buying and selling process. Okay. Be more of a real estate resource than just a real estate agent. So we had Robert Kofer, when Neil did the mastermind with Robert Kofer and Melinda, one of the things that Robert said is that his clients call him when they need a plumber, they need a roofer. Even if he sold them a house 4 or 5 years ago, they'll still call him if they need something for the house. He's a resource to them. Are you a resource to your people? Or do you just call them when you need someone, when you're looking for a real estate referral? More value. Be of more value. All right, I wrote down here, number 4, the law of magnetism. The law of magnetism, magnetism. Now, this also says that your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. In other words, your business naturally draws people who are like you. The beauty of this law is that if you are not currently attracting the clientele you would like to attract, you can simply change that with a few adjustments of yourself. If you're not attracting the clientele you would like to attract, you can change that with a simple few adjustments of yourself. If you're not attracting the price point that you want, then that's because you're not giving off the vibe that you belong in that price point. I used to deal with this all the time in Beverly Hills, right? We had an office in Beverly Hills and we have agents that say, I want to break into the Beverly Hills market. Okay, great. That's fine. Anyone can do it. It's not like something special, right? Anybody can do it. But in order to break into the Beverly Hills market, you have to look and act like you belong in the Beverly Hills market. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go buy a Rolls Royce and, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 Armani suit and go out and do that. But you have to look professional. You can't go to open houses with jeans and a polo. All right. You got to make sure everything, you can't go with your shirt not ironed, and things along. You got to look like $1 million. You got to play the part if you want to break into that type of area. We used to do this all the time when I worked out there. And there's some areas that are like that. There's some areas that it's just an attitude. Let me tell you something. I've told this story before. I was very successful in Beverly Hills, and then I went to Pasadena and pretty much just got punched in the face. Okay, because it was a different attitude. It was Pasadena compared to Beverly Hills was more of a community, right? Beverly Hills was just, they appreciated the hustle. Pasadena was more of a community than it is in Beverly Hills. So I didn't know that. So if I didn't look and walk the part of being a part of the Pasadena community, they didn't want anything to do with me. So you have to really figure out, if you're not attracting the people that you want to work with, you have to make some adjustments on your own. So I'll give you an example. If you want to attract more investors, learn more investor talk. That was another mistake I made in my past, right? First time I was dealing with an investor, they asked me, what's the rent roll? My first response was, instantly. That guy goes, put me on the phone with someone who knows what the hell they're talking about. True story. He was a nice guy, but he was just, this is a waste of my time. You have no idea what I'm looking for. But I was just, young and arrogant. Whatever. So if you want to attract more investors, learn more investor talk. Okay. If you want to attract more referrals, become the person who gives more referrals. Create that type of community. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Number 5, the law of the inner circle. The law of the inner circle. This says the law of the inner circle says the capacity for your future growth is determined by those closest to you. The capacity for your future growth is determined by those closest to you. So here's a question. Are the people you spend the most time with inspiring you to be better in every area of your life? Or are they draining you emotionally and physically? Are the people you spend the most time with inspiring you to be better in every area of your life, or are they draining you emotionally and physically? Often leveling your business up can be achieved by leveling up the people you spend the most time with daily. We talk a lot about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this particular one, but the old saying is that you become the 5 people you surround yourself with most often. So you have to really keep that in mind of who are you. Now here we do our best, right? We have this great little Zoom community or our office community that's usually very positive, very upbeat, very encouraging. We help each other out. You know, that's the best. But as we say all the time, this is only a small percentage of your day. I mean, let's say that you were on here all day, right? You were on here the amount of time that I'm on here, you know, well, no one's on here the amount of time that I'm on here, but you were on here a lot. Okay. Let's say you were on here 6 hours a day. That's only a quarter of your day that you're surrounded this group of people. Well, what about the other 75% of the day? Okay. And then if you're only on here, you know, 2 hours a day or an hour a day, you come on for like classes with myself, Cindy, Jocelyn, Neil, whatever the case may be. Let's say you're on here 2 hours a day. Well, now that's only 1/12 of your day. So what are you surrounding yourself with outside of here? Very, very important. I wrote down here the quote that Neil always says, 5 years from now, you're the exact same person you are today, with the exception of the books you read and the people you hang out with. Law of the inner circle. It's huge. Again, we talk about that a lot, so we'll move on from that one. Number 6, the law of momentum. The law of momentum. This says building momentum is the most powerful unseen force in business growth. The law of momentum says building momentum is the most powerful unseen force in business growth. Momentum has the ability to turn a couple of transactions into a dozen transactions. Momentum breeds confidence, and confidence breeds trust. Trust breeds transactions. I'll say that again. Momentum breeds confidence. Confidence breeds trust. Trust breeds transactions.
I'm sorry, can you go from most powerful unseen force?
In business growth.
Okay.
Momentum has the ability to turn a couple transactions into a dozen transactions. Momentum breeds confidence. Confidence breeds trust. Trust breeds transactions. All right. So, anyone here watch basketball, for example? Okay, or sports in general. If anyone watched, we'll use a perfect example. If anyone watched the Laker game last night, it's a perfect example of momentum. This happens in sports all the time. Now, basketball is an easy one to identify with, because when a player gets hot, that's what they call it, getting hot from the field, right? They're just shooting they're making everything. They just keep giving that player the ball. Here's the ball. You keep shooting. You have all the momentum on your side. You're feeling it. Just keep going. We're going to ride this as long as we can go. The Lakers did that last night. Carmelo Anthony is not their best player. Okay. Carmelo Anthony's still a good player, but he's by far not their best player. But he had all the momentum last night. And so you have someone like LeBron James going, here you go, shoot. Here you go, shoot. Just keep shooting. I'm the better player, but you got the momentum right now. And Carmelo just kept shooting and kept shooting and kept making and kept making. That's the same thing we have in sales. I heard one of the first sales lessons I ever learned was the best time to prospect is right after you set an appointment. You set an appointment. The best thing you could do is not do the dance. I got an appointment on Tuesday. Yeah. Go get some water, take a little break. No. The best time to prospect is right after you do that. You got some energy, you got some confidence, right? You got a little mojo going. You have to feed off of that momentum. We've all had that week, right? Where everything goes right. You got 3, 4, 5 deals going. You're like, oh my gosh, this week is incredible. But we've also all had that week where we couldn't get anything going. We've all had that month, okay, where we couldn't get anything going. That's why when you have momentum, you have to really ride it. You have that week where everything's hitting, you got all these appointments, you got to just keep prospecting, keep going, keep hitting these appointments, keep trying to close deals, keep trying to put things together. Just ride this wave for as much as you can, because there will be weeks when there is no momentum, right? Law of average. When you have momentum, you have to keep going, because it's easy to keep going. It's hard to get going. It's easy to keep going. It's hard to get going. So you have the momentum, you can keep going. If you stop, I'm too busy. You stop. Now you have to then get going again, and that's harder. Okay? So you have to ride that momentum as much as possible. I wrote down here number 7, the law of reproduction. Law of reproduction. Now, this law simply just adds to the law of momentum. And this says that you can reproduce past successes again and again in your business. You can reproduce past successes again and again in your business. So here's the question. What is it that you've done successfully in your business that you could replicate? So here's an example. Do a deep dive into all your transactions from the past 12 months. If you haven't done a lot of transactions because you're newer or whatever the case may be, if you've been in the business longer, do a deep dive into previous 12 months. If you're newer in the business, do a deep dive into whatever leads you've gotten from the past 12 months. Break down where the client came from. How did you communicate with them? Were they referred to you, or did they come from marketing, prospecting? What can you do to reproduce that initial conversation with a client who led to that sale? We had the situation come up on a call I had with an agent this morning. They said, gosh, I'm feeling a little dry. I said, well, you just opened up an escrow, right? I said, yeah. I said, where did that come from? He said, well, it was actually from a just listed call that I made 8 months ago. They wanted to buy, but it wasn't the time. They ended up back, and now I got them in escrow. I said, so is there any chance that any other leads you had 8, 9, 10 months ago might be in that same boat? Well, yeah, probably. Well, then call those people. Sometimes we make it too complicated. If it worked once before, it could probably work again. Figure out where the successes are coming from and then duplicate that or reproduce that. This is also really good when a deal falls apart. So if a deal falls apart, the best thing you can do is ask yourself is, well, where did that deal come from? And then go call that source to get yourself back going again. Because sometimes when a deal falls apart, we just get frustrated and down and we think, oh gosh, now I'm never going to get another deal. Well, this deal fell out of escrow. Okay, well, where did that lead come from? Well, it was a for sale by owner. Okay, well then go call some more for sale by owners. Work, you got the deal going once, you can get the deal going again. All right, number 8, the law of priority. The law of priority. This says what we focus on expands. What we focus on expands. So what are your priorities? Are you reacting to your business, or are you being proactive in your priorities? Making lead generation activities a daily priority will generate more leads, for example. When you practice your scripts or sales skills, your conversion rates will go up. What are your priorities? And what you focus on will expand. What are the high yielding activities in your business? The moment you prioritize these activities and focus on them consistently, you will significantly enhance your success trajectory. Well, I want to learn the scripts. Okay, great. How much do you focus on the scripts? Well, not very much. I just know I want to learn them. Okay. But if you really focus on, I really want to learn this particular script, I really want to get good at this one particular thing. If you focus on it, it will expand. When you prioritize it, you will become better. But just reading a script just for the sake of doing it, you're not prioritizing it. Here's an example of prioritizing. Well, I really want to get good at the script, so I'm going to practice from 8:30 to 9 every day. Okay, great. Your transaction coordinator calls you at 8:29. Do you ignore or send a quick text, say, hey, I got a role play, I'll call you back at 9? Or do you answer knowing that it's going to go past 8:30 into your role play? You don't have to answer that to me, but answer that to yourself. Because if you say, oh, transaction coordinator's calling, I better call them. Don't worry about it. I don't have to, if it goes late into my role play, such as life, then you're not prioritizing that particular skill. So you're not going to expand your success on it. Barring a real life emergency, like your kid calls you, that could be a problem. Okay. All right. Last couple ones. Number 9, the law of sacrifice. Now, this is the one that a lot of people don't like. The law of sacrifice says you will have to give up to move up. You will have to give up to move up. John Maxwell says, I wish I could tell you that if you want it badly enough, you could avoid sacrifices. The truth is, to reach new levels, sacrifices will need to be made. Sometimes this involves your leisure time, and other times it involves sacrificing your comfort or routine. But anywhere worth going is going to take some sacrifices, right? The road less traveled, or as the old adage says, the road less traveled is traveled for a reason, right? Or is not traveled for a reason. So here's some questions that John Maxwell brings up. What would sacrificing an hour of sleep in the morning to wake up early, work out, and study the business of top producers mean for your mental and physical preparedness for the rest of the day? What would one extra hour each evening spent at the office calling past clients mean for your business? How would learning a new skill for your business via a book or video in the evening instead of Netflix affect your business growth? These are examples he gives, right, that we have to contemplate. So the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice in the short term that will have long-term benefits? But I wrote down underneath this, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Because everyone will say, oh yeah, I could get rid of this. I could wake up earlier. I could stay later. I could do all this. I'm willing to sacrifice and give this up for the money. And then in some cases, you might be willing to sacrifice some things, but in some cases you won't. It's not a bad thing, but it's just a matter of being honest with yourself so you don't set yourself up for disappointment. Some of you are not going to call past clients or make any prospecting calls at 5 o'clock at night. Okay. So don't say, well, then I'm going to stay an hour late and prospect for an extra hour. Well, you're setting yourself up for failure if you know you're not going to do it. Figure out what you are willing to sacrifice, or here's more important, figure out if you're willing to sacrifice to go any higher than what you're currently doing. Because the truth is, and this is not a bad thing, you might not want to go any higher. And we've got a whole list of reasons on why going higher in production. There's a number of people that don't want to do it. There's more pressure. There's more time included. There is more sacrificing. And you're sitting there going, I got a family. I got kids. I got personal activities. I got my own life. I don't really want to add more to that. So you have to be honest with yourself. And before you say, yeah, let's sacrifice this, and this, you have to have a conversation with your family about sacrificing. Because staying an hour later, does that affect time with the kids, the spouse, the family, any other people that you're taking care of? You know, or getting up an hour earlier? So you have to ask yourself these questions. But the truth is that if you're trying to get to an incredible height, you're going to have to sacrifice at least something. All right, last two. Number 10, the law of timing. This says patience and intuition on when to take action are critical for growth. Patience and intuition on when to take action are critical for growth. Change always comes in our business, and being prepared for opportunities is a large part of the law of timing. So here's an example I wrote down, okay? Patience and intuition on when to take action are critical for growth. When COVID hit, one of the things that some of us needed to do, because we didn't know how this was going to affect anything, is we needed to cut expenses. That's intuition on when to take action, okay? But then when you saw that there was a lot of agents not working, now, again, if it was for health reasons, stuff like that, that's a different thing. Okay, then that's different. But there were some agents that didn't want to work just because they were using this as an excuse not to work. Okay, none of you. Okay, but there were agents like that were out there. So if you were willing to work, again, to health issues and stuff like that, totally understandable. But if you were willing to work, you also understood, oh, patience and intuition. This was a great time. Now is a great time to take action. Right? That's the timing for me to double down. As we had a lot of people say, oh, I doubled down on my business once I realized what an opportunity it was. All right. We did this back in the 2011, 2012 REO business. Well, some agents, okay, well, I'm going to take advantage of this REO business. But then the problem is they didn't have the intuition to get out of it or learn any other skills. So when the REO business stopped, so did their business. You need to have patience and intuition on when to take action or when to not take action. That's critical for your growth. When do you double down? When do you back off? When do you go this direction instead of that direction? Okay. You may not know what the future holds, but we're confident that there will be change. The more prepared you are for whatever happens, the more you'll be able to take advantage of the law of timing, right? That's why studying market stats. You can see things happening before most other people do. So we talk about InfoSparks, things like that. There's a lot of agents that it's too late. They tell the client that the market's going down when the market's already going down. You can tell them, hey, look, things are slowing down a little bit. You can be ahead of the game. Or when things are going up. Different thing. All right, last one here, the law of explosive growth. The law of explosive growth. This says that growth comes through the systematic, consistent execution of your business. Growth comes through the systematic, consistent execution of your business. And there are specific critical components needed for growth to occur. So here's 3 elements, right? There's a lot of them, but here's 3 elements that John Maxwell talks about for explosive growth. And this is what we're going to wrap up on. For the top ranked people, he says they work hard and smart. They work hard and smart. He says, I've never seen any successful business that says explosive growth didn't come from working harder and smarter. Work smarter, not harder is not true. But if you want to grow, work smarter, not harder is true. But if you want to grow your business fast, work harder and work smarter. Number 2, second element, he says, is that they develop a group of raving fans. The best advertising is word of mouth marketing. Referrals are nice, but if you're going to experience explosive growth, you will need a group of raving fans. People who were so pleased with your service or who care about you so much that they will shout your praises from the rooftop. Because a group of raving fans leads to consistent referrals and business growth. And then number 3 is they build a team around them. For your business to grow, you will need a network of support. Now, as an individual agent, you don't need a team, right? But as your business grows, you might need an administrator. You might need a marketing assistant, or you might need to hire a third-party marketing person, right? You might need a buyer's agent at some point. You might need another listing agent. But for now, you need a lender you can trust. You need an inspector. You need a landscaper. You need a stager. You need a photographer. You need a title rep, right? You need these types of people around you. You need a network of support. All right, so wrapping up here, John Maxwell says, evaluate your business and identify which of these laws you can improve. Resolve to implement the action steps and systems you need for growth. Once you start taking action, the results will soon follow. Questions on any of the stuff we went over today? Got it? All right. Well, there you go. So that's John Maxwell's 11 Irrefutable Laws of Success. So hopefully there was one or two things on there that were helpful for you. So can help you move forward on a few things. And if there wasn't, well, then hopefully I was able to help you get through lunch. Sometimes it's those little wins is all I'm looking for.